It is live now.
Sounds good. All right, let me grab the link. Actually, can you guys see that the link is available? Conan, Spatica.
Yep.
It is live now.
Oh, cancel. Sounds good. All right, let me grab the link. Actually, I pause. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today is yet another episode of Funnily Enough, the show about nothing. I feel like I'm Seinfeld doing a show about nothing, but that's what the show is about. It's about talking and getting to know different things about life that you generally don't get to do. And today we have somebody from my little corner of the world. I think of myself as a stand-up comedian, and there are two people in the audience, in the panel with us, who are doing this, have been doing this for a few years now, Spatica and Conan. So Spatika, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to introduce yourself, and then Conan, your turn, and then we'll get started.
Thanks, Sai. Thanks for having me here. I'm Spatica, and I've been doing theater for many years. I've been doing comedy in theater for many years. So my journey is from theater into comedy, which I started doing a couple of years ago. Yeah, so that's briefly about me.
And where can we find you performing live?
Uh, Mostly either Wire Up Comedy Club, Underground Comedy Club, a comedy theater, Urban Solace. Um, these are few venues that I regularly go to. Yeah.
So mostly venues in Bangalore. Do you all? I'm sure
Bangalore.
I'm sure you have an online presence. How do people find you, say, on Instagram?
I have a YouTube channel which I created. It's by my name. It's with my name, Spatica. Yeah.
Spatica.
Yeah.
All right, Conan, your turn.
Well, nothing much different from Spatica. I'm a stand-up comic. My name is Conan Pasha. I've been doing comedy from almost 3 and 4 years right now in the scene. And uh, when it comes to performing, I've been doing theater before comedy and got into comedy as well 3 years ago, post-pandemic. Majorly got into comedy. Always was into stand-up comedy, but now full-time working as a comic and making sure that having something on the comedy has always been the priority for me. When it comes to stages, has always been fun for me.
So I'm a little curious about how you guys think about comedy, because for most people, comedy is something like, oh, it's an afterthought. It's not something that they go out and look for. And I mean, you do, once you know that stand-up comedy exists, you might go find stand-up shows to watch. But to make that a part of your identity and your life's journey, how did that come about for you guys, and why did it come about? Why was comedy the thing that you picked, and not, say, blogging on Substack or something like that?
Uh, Patika, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, either one doesn't matter. Keep going.
Okay. For me, I think stand-up was an unknown art form because as a kid, you listen to Johnny Lever, you listen to Russell Peters, you listen to Dave Chappelle. I used to have these CDs. Fortunately, I had access to the American comics or UK comics as well because my cousins used to live there. They used to come with these CDs, these audio tapes. And in India, you had Johnny Lever, you had Mahmood Saab, you had Raju Srivastav. And I think that got into me like, okay, but that time it was still like someone being on stage and it's a monologue. It's a mono acting, which we used to call it in school. So there, what it started as, ki, oh, I'm mono acting in school. So even I come from Kendra Vidyalaya. So we used to have a subject called CC, cultural activities and extracurriculum activities. So I used to do mono acting and all. It was called mono acting that time, and that actually subconsciously already had that in my mind. Ki, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to be on stage. I want to make people laugh. I want to make sure that it gives you that adrenaline rush as a kid, and then slowly you get into theater with the play and performing with everyone. And then finally, when I got into 2012 or 2011 12, that time I actually realized, okay, what stand-up comedy is, how it's a different art form entirely. And for me, I think why I lean more towards stand-up comedy is because of the freedom of your thoughts that you present. Because when it comes to play, you have to have a structure of it. Obviously, stand-up comedy does have a structure, but the thought structure, plays are still like a frictional part of it. But here you're creating your own stories. If anyone has seen me, or if anyone comes and sees me in future also, It's my true story, what has happened in my life, but how am I presenting it and how it's funnier. And with my family coming from my background, my father is a doctor, my mom comes from a study of law, and they understand that everything that is tragic has something funny in it.
Hmm.
So
All right.
that actually
I'm
gave me a
so
lot
I'm
of,
curious. So you started saying that you said that you were doing mono acting and extracurricular
yeah.
stuff from childhood. Now, I hear a lot from new comics coming through the open mic scene in Bangalore that it's a way for them to get girls. Was that also the same with you? To do comedy because
Why was
that's
this? No, actually, to be honest, that actually happened. Unfortunately,
and there's
uh,
nothing unfortunate. I mean, it's part of being a
no,
human being.
fortunately, it initiated. I had like a good attention from women when I was doing things on stage. But I fortunately, touch wood, that I realized that I don't want to do that to get the attention of women.
All
Uh,
right.
because that actually started impacting it. There have been cases where I've been like going on stage, and right now I'm just trying to impress the
Hmm.
people in this audience, especially the women, and that actually hampered my writing skills and my creativity thought, because now I'm again going on stage only with the purpose of, okay, I want to impress this girl who I like in the audience. That was happening, and I realized that, and I saw that I am not funny
When
that
you
time.
do that, when you're doing it for somebody specific,
Yeah,
okay.
you
So,
are,
Patika,
you might be like hitting someone, they might find you interesting, but you are not funny that time, and I'm not having the art that time in my hand.
fair enough. So, Spatika, your decision to go into comedy, I mean, you're a theater person. What
Yeah.
what made you go into comedy? And the same question, did you do it to impress the boys or what is it?
No, I'll answer your second question first. I think I might say something rather controversial here, so pardon me. But I actually feel that if you want to impress the boys, men don't associate women and attractiveness with humor.
I
I think it's
deny.
rare because no, I find it's a larger, I don't know, it's a larger phenomena of society or something where
Hmm.
there's this, especially in school and stuff, there's this thing of boys who'll be like, hey, I made her laugh, and the attractiveness quality of men with humor is more. Anyway,
Ah, fair enough.
that's a different podcast episode.
We don't have other attractive qualities, so this is the only thing we have right now.
So yeah, I just pick up from what Conan said about tragedy and comedy, right? It's a very interesting thing because when I was in theater school, I studied physical theater in London, and there, one of our teachers used to say the there's a very thin line between tragedy going into comedy.
Yeah.
It's the timing, and Chaplin, and I mean that it's classic example that you can see that how a very tragic story slips into comedy because of the timing, right? So anyway, for me, comedy was always a very, very interesting medium in theater for me. In theater school, we had very interesting, modules on clowning and something called social grotesque, which
Mhm.
is a movement in comedy theater that happened many years ago in Europe of the grotesque art movement of really presenting the ugliness of life, uh, kind of really shocking the audience, really making them. It's like how the red-nosed clown, the joke's on me, I'm the clown. Y'all as audience are laughing at me, whereas the social grotesque movement is more what you would call a black-nosed clown, where the performer is laughing at the audience and saying, "Look at you all as society, how ugly you can be," and
So you
making these
see,
larger social commentaries. Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
that was the root of comedy, you're saying. That the stand-up comedy as it appears today is more like that, like you reflecting society back to the audience. So is
Uh,
that
well, that's what got me interested in comedy.
okay?
In theater itself. So I did a lot of work with I directed a play. I acted a lot in this genre of comedy. And then I wanted to create a one woman show with a colleague of mine. And I mean, he's been doing stand up comedy for many, many years. And he said, look, there's value in learning how to write stand up comedy. There's value in essentializing words and saying everything, but with the limitation of words, that you have to deliver your message in few words.
Right.
So I think there's a craft there that you will benefit from learning. So that's how I started doing open mics. So I still want to create this one woman show, which will be somewhere theater meets comedy and characters will come on stage and whatever. But right now, it's a very interesting learning process for me to learn the craft of stand-up comedy.
So
Yeah.
this is actually a great opening, great segue into what I want to do next. But I really want to thank you, Spatika, for pointing out this inherent genderedness to comedy. Women can't be funny. Men are expected to be funny. So, to be honest, there's a little bit of me which sort of agrees with this, because I don't know. It's because I'm not a woman, so I don't understand the jokes about periods or jokes about mother-in-laws. I don't get it to the same extent that I would with a man comic talking about, say, male pattern balding. Like I've done a bunch of jokes about my baldness, so it makes sense to me. So I completely understand, and I acknowledge that there is a little bit of an expectation gap between women being funny and the audience finding them funny. That's one. So the segue into words and the use of words is going to be our next thing that we're going to do now. It's an activity that I like to do with.
Yeah, I think just to add a few things about before we go into segue, is that okay? I would like to add something.
20 seconds, because
Yeah, I understand. I think the thing of women not being funny is okay. I also had a belief that men have to be that funny character and make sure that women are like okay on the taking end of the comedy. But after being in the comedy scene for a while, I understand that there can be a really good shift, because I have seen a lot of good female comics. It's just they have to realize, everyone has to realize what's the writing perspective they go and the character what they have to build it on stage. Finding a voice is what we call it in the circuit and in the comedy language, I would say. And I think that is only the thing that is still has a gap right now. But the moment you find it out, it's very easy to say, yeah, women are also funny. Just we need to present our voice exactly on that.
Like the show Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and then
yes, exactly.
the movie Bridesmaids. It's hilarious. I mean, it's like a classic. I mean, super funny, all women comedy movie. Which it's one of my favorite movies because it's just simply so ridiculously funny. Right. So going back to the little activity they're going to do. I mentioned this to you. Maybe Spatika, I mentioned it to you, but not to Conan, because he's a couple of minutes behind you joining the meeting. So here's how it's going to go, Conan. I'm going to give you a word, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds, because you guys have been talking about this constriction on the number of words you can use. Yeah. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to play this game. It goes like this. I'll give you a simple word like, say, spectacles or book or table or something, and you have to give me a name, a place, an animal, and a thing associated with it. All right? So, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds. We're going to go take turns, because Spatika was here first. I'm going to start with her because she knows I explained to her what the game looks like. Yeah. So, Spatika, don't expect a simple word, okay? And let me make sure the timer is running and set it to 30 seconds. And
so name, place, animal, thing, just one after the other, whatever word you give us.
And some explanation. If you want to give us a slight explanation. If it's too obvious, then yeah, we'll get it immediately. But if you
okay.
All right. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and the word for you, Spatika, is toolbox. I told you it's not going to be simple.
Okay. Name is Maruti Alto. My car. Place is Maria Sundar Apartments, where I live. Animal is Zuki, my cat, because I have a toolbox of medicines for him. Thing, spanner.
Okay, from the toolbox. Okay, good. And why your apartment? Why the place you live?
Because my car is in my basement there.
Oh, so your entire
very unimaginative.
There's no right answer to this, right? All right, so that's interesting. Toolbox was Maruti Alto, where the car is parked and the toolbox is kept. That's your apartment building. Then place animal was your cat, because you have a toolbox. Oh, so yeah, right. I get it. All right, Conan, ready?
Yeah.
I can see a hanger in your background, so hanger.
Oh, hanger. So I have to name, place, animal, thing, right?
Time's running.
Name, I would say Amit, my very good friend. We used to call him Hanger, so for obvious reasons. Hanger, what you're seeing here, there is a missing coat. I just gave it to my friend. I just lended him. So coat is the thing. Animal. Oh, my pet dog, which is in my hometown, and he has bitten all my hangers that were there. And my mom used to this and thing place I don't remember right now.
All right, that works. So wait, you said for obvious reasons you name your friend Amit or something who's a hanger.
Amit, yeah. Oh, he was
Is
very
that
thin. We used to call him hanger.
oh like that? I
Yeah.
thought you're making a
No.
like that's the only obvious thing that came to. I'm like,
That's
whoa.
why, yeah. No, he was very thin. We used to call him a hanger because it's like even if he wears anything, it's like a
It looks
hanger.
like it's just draping on. Oh, I understood.
Yeah.
Understood. All right. So yeah, this is. Thank you so much, everyone, for both of you for playing this game. It's usually a good fun to see how people think. So let me put on my psychologist hat and say, Spatika, you think positionally, you create like a uh, locationally. I guess, my cat, my life, my car, my garage, all those things. And Conan, in your case, you clearly looks like you branch out. You go back into your past. You go back into your future. You go back to your hometown. So you think a little broadly. So I'm just a and this pop psychology. I'm not a psychologist. I'm
Yeah.
not, hardly even the person who should be saying these things. But this how when people
Yes.
give me these answers, that's how I think.
Yeah,
All right.
I have a very nesting impulse, so it
Ah.
comes out. Yes.
Whoa. So it's not gendered at all. I have a nesting impulse as well. So I'm not going to say anything like that. Um, all right, so I have a few high-level topics that I want to talk about when it comes to comedy, because comedy is something that people don't realize that is actually work to become funny, and that's one thing I want to bring out and talk about that. So, when it comes to say, where do you see comedy taking you from this point onwards? You are already in the open mic circuit. You already have a venue that you perform on a regular basis. Where is the future for you as a comedian, and where's the future for comedy as a profession? Let's start with you, Kunan, because you're directly involved with this.
So basically, with me as a profession, first I would like to talk about it's like it's okay. I have a constant graph that I'm seeing with myself, like putting out the writing videos which I have, sharing the experiences what I have, putting out a lot of my experiences as a bit of sets, my 1 hour specials, half an hours, because 30 years old, too much of experiences coming from a background of Kendra Vidyalaya, changing multiple schools, meeting different people, and traveling across has given me so much of experiences that as a profession, I see it that I share the experience to a larger and a larger audience. So the first time I did my 1.5 an hour with someone, there were around 5 people. The second time we did it, it was 12 people. So now I want to make sure that it keeps on growing with the thing. And if someone says, what are there's not going to be a stop for me. It's always going to be a milestone. It's always going to be like, oh, today I might have filled on 50. What's my next milestone? My next milestone will be filling in 100. If I'm filling 1,000 after a year, my next milestone will be making sure that I do something that fills 5,000, performing
Right.
for an audience of more and more on the professional side.
So, Conan, to unpack this a little, you are performing live to audiences of say 50 to 100 people today. Do you see that as being the core to your say income, like the money in the bank? Is that how
Yes.
it's going to be? Or are you aiming for say brand partnerships? Because I want to expand the awareness of people to comedy as a profession.
So,
Brand partnerships, then yeah, go ahead.
definitely, actually, it's not just gonna be one particular live audience because if you have heard of this, everyone says this, there is one thing for the soul, one thing for the stomach. So there might be things that I'll be open for brand partnerships, but I will like to have a very segmented thing that what I want to do on the live shows, what I want to say on my live shows, and what I want to say on my corporate shows, or what I want to say on my brand shows. Because obviously, when it comes to your associating with the band, I come from a corporate industry. I understand that they have their own bubble and they have their own limitations. So I don't want to disrespect their opinions as well. But when it comes to live shows, the earning or any income that comes from that has to be the honesty of my art form and honesty of my whole thoughts. So it has to be a balance of both. It's not just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to do live shows and get this done, which
Right.
I
So you
think
can't
is
be
not.
so puritanical about it. You can't be like hard
Yeah,
and fast.
exactly.
Okay. Okay. So Spatika, what about you? Where do you see your journey going? Soul versus stomach. Where do you land on that?
So actually, I was thinking in terms of form also, right? Like what's the form like? Um, I don't want to completely leave theater behind as well because so much of the craft of presence and being on stage is what I've learned from theater. Somewhere I think the both will meet, this one woman show that I was talking about. And that might be, so there might be two different paths, one where theater and comedy meet, and one is just pure stand-up comedy. And the one woman show is something I might want to take to fringe festivals and things like that. And the comedy is something that I just like to. I'm trying to be more regular with Insta reels and things like that, because I do enjoy that medium, and I find that there are many things that lend themselves to this comedy reels format that is not for stage. It is for a comedy reel. So I do enjoy that. I do enjoy putting out characters there. So hopefully that grows. And I think, I think also, like, in terms of subjects, like, I think disassociating women's comedy from just, oh, they'll talk about their periods and they'll do this and they'll do, there's so much more that that women comedians are about, which I think I'd like to take it there also. So let's see. Yeah.
I feel I have a target on my back because I made that initial
Oh,
comment
did
that,
you? Oh, sorry.
oh man, no, it's all good. I mean, I was, I admit to it that I have in my view, in my head, that's where it starts, is about. Never mind. Let's not
Yeah.
rehash that because I don't want another target on my back. All right, so comedy as such, and as such, is not something. At least for me, the minute I transitioned from being a software guy to saying I'm going to do comedy full time, the question was, where are you going to make money? What is the point of it? Can you not do it on as a side gig at night, on nights and evenings and all that? And for me, it was a little hard to explain that yes, there isn't any money in comedy, but it's also satisfying for the soul to actually go out and put your point of view across and talk about things which are, say, taboo breaking. So, Spatika, let's start with you. What taboos do you think your comedy has been able to break, at least reach and talk about? Is there anything like that, or like that's not where you go?
No. I mean, I'm also trying to figure. It's a delicate balance of what I want to say versus what the audience is also ready to receive. So it's also about gauging where the audience is. Many times, I'm sure Conan can also relate to this. Like, many times I go, with a set in my mind, and then I look at the audience and I'm like, not the right audience. So it's a delicate dance also of what. There are many things that I want to say. There are many comments about the world and observations that I have, but I feel that there is a certain warming up of the audience. There is a likability factor that I first need to work on. I can't just go and be like, well, and the world is shit and ha ha ha.
Okay.
So
You can't be
yeah.
too grotesque
Yeah,
to
I
get the
can't. I
audience.
can't. So, which is fine. And I think that's why it's an interesting learning curve. I mean, after 20 years of theater, to have this learning curve in comedy is very interesting. Yeah.
Conan, what about you? What are you willing to do in comedy? Maybe that's a slightly different
So,
frame.
to be honest, it's for me, I think it's not at all like, yo, I want to break a taboo. I want to be that person, I'm going to talk. It's all about my honesty, what I feel. Because even today, if someone asks me that, I want to do full time comedy, who's a young comic, who's like very young, I say them, do you have enough financial background to survive doing comedy? Till date, I work with my clients. I still make, and it's like it's not, you're going to do two jobs for a long time if you're going to survive in comedy. Unless you are making enough money for survival from the comedy, you're still going to make sure you're going to do two jobs. One is going to pay you, one is going to be making sure that you get paid out of it in the future. So I don't want to go and say, oh, this is the taboo about something, I want to talk about it. Everything comes from a clear, honest opinion that I have. I have never seen it like I'm going to change the world as a comic, because I don't, I personally don't believe that a comic can change the world. We are here to make people laugh, and I don't want to change the world. Politicians are there for that. There are motivational speakers, TED talkers, everyone there. I just want to be honest with what I feel right now, with my thought. If someone asks me about what I feel about homosexuality, I go and talk about what I feel about homosexuality. I want to talk about what I feel about being a sexist. coming from a Muslim family, I'm like, oh, this is what I've seen in past, and this is funny about it. So for me, it's not taboo breaking. It's more like I want to enjoy those things that are taboo around us with my honest opinion. I don't want to go and say, ki, oh, this is what is wrong with the world.
So you don't feel that you have a responsibility to
I
be a
actually
mirror to
don't.
society? Okay.
I actually don't. I'm like, I'm not anything that is anything I say as a joke today is not gonna change anyone's opinion or what they have built it from last 25 years or 30 years of their life.
Mhm.
For the 5 minutes set or the 10 minutes, or even if I'm doing an hour about
Mhm.
something,
Mhm.
if that's gonna change someone's life, I highly doubt that's gonna do it because it's just 1 hour of their life. But they
So
have like 30 years of ingrained thing.
I'm going to hold. I mean, you said something interesting about being from a Muslim family, which I want to come back and
Yeah,
talk
sure.
about a little more. But Spatika, going back to you on this topic of how far would you go on stage to be funny? Like, would you do physical comedy? Would you make jokes about, say, your parents or something that is like sacred in Indian society? How far will you go to get a
Well, I
laugh?
have made fun of my parents on stage.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's already happened. Too late. So, and physical comedy also I have done on stage. So it's about for me the journey is about form. What um, do, there's the pure mic and talking comedy, and then there's the physical comedy. There's the performative sort of third wall between me and audience kind of comedy as well. And is there an interesting meeting of the two that can happen,
So
right?
did your stage training make you a better comic, or does it make you doubt yourself more? Because if you have stage training, you know that there are some things you don't do on stage, there are some things you do on stage.
Yeah.
Is there like are you technically more adept because as a comic, because you're also a stage performer?
Yes and no. I think because in pure stand-up comedy, there is no third wall. It can be very liberating and very scary at the same time because you don't have a character. There is no third wall. It's just me, Spatica, and the audience. I'm not playing a character. I can't hide behind the character. At the same time, it's very liberating because it helps me say things that I can't say otherwise. So it's a bit of both. Yeah.
All right, Conan, back to you on the topic of being from a Muslim family. Was your family understanding of your choice to be a comedian? Were they and again, I'm going to be the person asking the questions. I'm reflecting the questions the audience is having. Okay, so there is an understanding that Muslim families or Islam is a slightly more conservative, slightly more. Let's not talk about certain taboos and things. So when you said I'm going to be a comedian, was there worry from your family that this guy is going to say something which is going to be offending someone, either people, my co-religionists, or offending the Indian society in general? What was how did you explain to your parents that you're not going to actually get yourself killed? I mean, I guess that's the bottom line.
That's actually true. But I think it's the way you present it. Because when fortunately, I come from a family that's my parents are quite liberal. They understand that comedy, what you're gonna do, and for them, they realize whatever I talk about, 90% are the home stories. I talk about my grandma's death. I talk about
Hang on, I really have to ask this because this is in context. Are you saying that you don't find yourself responsible for holding up a mirror to society because of this worry that what you say might offend society? Is the fact that there is this worry that as a Muslim man talking about comedy in a society which is where Muslims are 15% of the population, or 15-20% of the Indian population, or because Islam as a religion tends to be a little more conservative. I am not going as far as I want to go, and I'm going to stop at, say, stories about my family and stories about dating as a Muslim man in India, like those kind of things. Is there like and I don't know if you know this, but
not at all, not at all. I am open to talk about also taboo topics that are taboo for people. Like I have spoken about how a Muslim can be a gay person, what can be tough on, not tough on that, but the experience that someone might hold if he's a Muslim and he's gay.
Right.
But again, for me, as a personal opinion, right, and with my family, it comes like, okay, how you're presenting yourself. Even if you're making fun of something, but you are presenting it in a well constructed way, people will not get offended. You're not abusing anyone. on stage. Like, I'll give you a very simple anecdote that I do a joke about my grandma's death. And when I started doing it, I told it to my mom that this is what I'm doing. And she said, why are you doing this? It's probably very offensive thing. And it was like, I started doing it 3 months after she passed away. So it was pretty much. But the person who I actually wanted the feedback from was my grandfather, who was the husband of her. And when I told him that joke, and he said, this is very funny. This is very funny. And he's like, and I'm like, yeah, this is the opinion I want. Because I am actually, I just want to make sure that I'm hitting the funny bone in the tragedy. I'm not offending anyone.
Right.
For me, talking about if I meet, like I have a joke about me going on a date with a transgender. And always this helps that what I've learned from my senior comics is, are you presenting yourself as a hero? Because when you start presenting yourself on stage that I am the hero in the story, you always tend to become a bit cocky. You always tend to become like, oh, I did this.
Right.
But when you're presenting yourself that, oh, I don't know what to do in this situation, I am not the victim, but I am also an observer of this situation, which is funny. The audience is with you that time.
Right.
So even in that case, if I'm reflecting to the audience as a mirror, I am still an observer, and this is the funny thing, this is the bad thing that's happening, but it's funny in this way. I think that is only the thing that works out right now.
All right. So, Spatica, question to you, which is related to what I was talking to Conan about. As a woman comic, do you get trolled? Do you have any pressures from the people on Instagram and elsewhere where they say, oh, you're a woman, clearly you want to do something else? And Conan, the question is obviously for you also. As a Muslim man, you're talking about certain topics which are maybe the broader Indian society, like, you shouldn't be talking about that. For example, if you talked about India-Pakistan cricket, I'm sure some guy somewhere will be like, and it's happened to me, I'm not even a Muslim man, I'm like, people come and say shit to me about also. So the question goes to both of you. What is the audience, what is the broader Indian society saying to you when you put out content? Spatika, let's start with you.
So I'm not yet that famous. So when I do get famous and I do get trolled, I'll let you know. So I don't get trolled, but I do get a lot of mansplaining. I do get a lot of what men think women should say that's funny. I do. It happens even with fellow comics at open mics. I've been told to, because I'm used to rehearsing. I'm from theater, so I can't just go and go blah 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 on the mic. I will rehearse. I time myself. I go to a corner and I'm walking around running my set. And I've had male comics come up to me and say, "Itna rehearse mat karna. Ye comedy hai. Jaake kar lo, like chill. I'll tell you, you'll be fine." And this I have faced a lot. Yeah. So
Conan, what about you? What about, how's the audience working? I mean, society.
With me, I don't know. There have been cases where people come and tell me about, oh, you should talk this about that's regressive in Muslim families or something like that. And I the only answer I have is I'm not the first hand experience. I don't have the first hand experience of that. I come from a very liberal, a open-minded Muslim family. Everyone has studied abroad, or they have studied, and they are engineers, doctors, and we come from a family of refuge who have been like struggling to be in that society. So for us, if someone tells me, oh, Muslim women are wearing burqas, that's regressive, that's that, I'm like, I have not seen my family members struggling with wearing burqa. In my family, it's a choice. If you want to wear burqa, you're most welcome. But if you don't want to wear, again, that's not an issue at all. My mom doesn't wear burqa. My sister wears burqa because that's her choice. So I come from that. And someone comes and tells me, oh, you should talk about, I'm just giving an example, you should talk about this. I'm like, I don't have a first-hand experience of it. The first-hand experience, what I have. Sorry.
Comedy clearly starts with feeling the feelings that you,
Exactly.
If you haven't felt it, then you're going to talk about it. Yeah, okay, understood. All right, so now that we've delved into this, I'm going to go back and talk about, say, like what you said, Conan, about, being the hero of the story when you're the comedian. There's this aspect of comedy where people say, don't punch down, punch up, and things like that. Where do you land on what direction your joke should be in? Should you, how do you, when you're writing, let's walk us through this process of creating a joke, for example.
Uh, I'll just tell you about how the punch down or punch up works. I think it has to be both. It has to be the well balanced thing that when you're punching up, it should be funny. When you're punching down on someone, it should be funny. People will understand and people will not get offended when you're actually funny on stage. But you're just punching down in the sake of saying something with a shock value. Oh, he has said something. Like if I say, oh, uh, for example, if I'm just giving an example, okay, someone comes from Rajasthan, a girl comes from Rajasthan, I just say, oh, why are you not still married?
Mm-hmm.
Without the context, if I just say this line, just to be cool on stage that I'm a dark comic, it doesn't work. You have to give it in a context that the girl also who I'm telling it to, she also laughs back, knowing the whole context where I come from, and it has to be funny. If it is not funny, you feel like this is punch up, this is punch down. But when it's funny, you don't care whether you're punching down on a person or a individual or a society, because that time they will also say, yeah, this is the problem we have. And it's funny that you have made it funny now. Now we see it in a different glass, different perspective now, that how this can be funny.
Spatika, what about you? Punching up, punching down. Where do you put
Yeah,
yourself in your jokes?
no, I have to agree with Conan, and I also would like to add that you have to be very, very cognizant of your perspective. Uh, it's very, very important to also be like, the joke's also on me. I'm such an idiot of not recognizing this or that. Or there are many ways to present one's perspective. It need not always be self-deprecating. That's just one example that I gave. But like to also say, not put yourself in this position of power and say, oh, you and just for the sake, as he said, of shock value. But to also be like, how do I present my perspective also of this person who's looking in, who's probably ignorant, unaware, whatever. That has to be included. I think that very often, I think with the need to land a joke, one can forget that you also have a responsibility to be empathetic as an artist, especially when you're making observations about other people, other phenomenon, whatever. Yeah.
So that is going to be our next question. But before we get there, you said about stereotypes. Conan, you mentioned Rajasthan woman. Clearly, you should be married by now. So are you comfortable using what stereotypes are you aware that you use? For example, in my case, I might say bald people, stereotypes about bald people and how we deal with society about being bald. So what kind of stereotypes do you, in your last, say, 5 sets, have you used to heighten the joke? Let's start with this, Spatika.
A lot of them. I would say a lot of them. When it comes to, I have because when you come from a Muslim background, you have a lot of stereotypes around a Muslim guy, talking about terrorism, talking about circumcision, talking about being sexist as a community, and all of that. So I completely use, and I can use that because that's the first-hand experience, what people tell me about. I have this thing that I say Muslims are sorted with 2 things: sexism and cooking. They know how to cook and they know who should cook.
I'll take it. So you have a ready-made bank of material because either you are dealing. Very nice. That's a superpower right there. Spatika, what stereotypes do you run with?
Oh wow! Because I've broken every stereotype. I'm that's still going on. So a tam woman in her 40s, single. I have a set on dating a younger guy, so automatically people assume I'm a sugar mommy. In fact, a host after one of my sets, he even actually said, "Oh, I've heard of sugar daddies, but not heard of sugar mommies," and the audience went, So
Was that upsetting? Let me
it
ask you.
was. It did hit me a little because I thought I was just being like whatever, and then there was this comment being slapped upon. I think the stereotypes are there, whether you.
So Conan, let
I
me
think
ask you.
me just going on stage and talking about myself is breaking a stereotype because I don't fit in any of the boxes. Yeah.
I am in my mid-40s also, and I'm thinking that if I were to go make a joke, if I were to talk about dating somebody in their 20s, And if somebody were to say to me, hey, this guy's being a sugar daddy, I don't know how I'd react. I actually don't know. So
Yeah.
Conan, you said you're in your 30s, like 30 or
I'm in my 30s. Yes.
all right. So would you date, for example, somebody in their 20s, and if somebody were to call you a sugar daddy, would you?
Sorry, I just have to make a correction.
Ah.
I didn't date somebody in their 20s, okay?
I'm just saying, I'm not saying you did. I'm just, if
Okay,
I
if
was,
you did.
and even, we are
I
comedians.
draw the line somewhere.
Oh, so what's your half plus 10? Like,
That we'll talk about later. Sorry.
all
Have a
right,
coffee.
not willing to talk about that number. Okay.
No.
So Conan, if somebody were to call you a sugar daddy or something on stage, clearly it affected Spatica on some level. What is a comment that you've heard which bothered you? Like, why would they say that?
Actually, something, fortunately, I don't know if people who have made comments about me, I've heard those too many times. Like, probably for Spatika's sugar mommy was the first time she heard it and she might have felt that. But for me, that comes of katwa and comes of, like, a lot of Muslims here, terrorists, everything comes. And I have, like, now I'm grown a thick skin of it. But it came from as a kid also. It like, oh, Muslims do this, Muslims do that, blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, I think now I know. If someone tells me something about something, I think I'm like, yeah, please tell. I'm gonna use it in next set. That's the thing.
So in my case, the first time somebody called me, I know I'm bald. I know I talk about. I'm comfortable being bald. But the minute somebody else mentions, I'm like, oh, damn it, dude, really? Did you have to go there? Did you really have to call out the fact that I'm bald? That's one thing that bothers me. The other one is being called uncle. I mean, I just don't think of myself. I'm in my mid 40s. Clearly, I'm an uncle to a large part of Indian society. But I just don't. It doesn't. In my psyche, I'm not an uncle. I'm still like a young guy. I'm still like, yeah, I'm cool.
I think that's for everyone. Still it's like, how did I become uncle? Like, women, there's a thing, like, women have phases. They have, like, girl, then they become good. For us, it's bhaiya directly uncle now.
There's no intermediate. That's true. That's true.
There's nothing. There's like, bhaiya, and now you're an uncle one day. Like, I still remember I was in 28 or 29 years old, and I park my bike, and someone comes to me. These kids come to me, and they're like, uncle, your bike is really good. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Uncle. Bro, it's a fault. Like,
Spatika, I don't know if I interrupted you when you're finishing a thought about stereotypes. Maybe I did interrupt you.
No. You were fine. So,
all right.
Yeah.
All right. So you talked, and Spatika, you mentioned about the audience reaction and all that. What happens when you get heckled or you bomb? In either case, what is your fallback reaction to getting heckled or bombed?
So I'm still learning that. Both have happened. I got heckled once by a guy, of course. So
sexist.
Because
are women
I think he couldn't have, there was something I said and he was like, but women are also blah, 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 blah. So, what I try to do is make it about me. I'm like, yeah, I'm so silly that I said that or something. I try and work it into the set, or I try and ignore it. When I bomb again, I try and make it about, like, oh, too early in the evening for dark jokes. Haha, I get it. That sort of thing. So basically, I try to take it all in my stride and figure how to go ahead, and that's it.
Have you had a successful situation where you managed the heckler really nicely? Like, is there any recent incident where, like, this guy said this and this is how I responded, the audience came to my side?
Thankfully, I've been heckled only once. The other times have been that the audience are interacting with me. They are talking. And very often they kind of take over. Time gets over very quickly, which is still okay. I feel that it's quite sweet and endearing that they feel that they're also part of whatever, that there's a conversation happening with them. And so, yeah.
You mentioned you got heckled and it was by a guy. Haha, clearly men are like that. Do you see women audiences being more supportive of you, or are they less judgmental? Are they more supportive? Of Spatika. Conan, not your turn to answer. Spatika's turn to answer this.
I've seen it's an interesting phenomena, and it's a gross generalization. So to be taken with pounds of salt. I see that when women come alone to watch shows, their face seems to light up when there's a female comedian who goes up. I feel they're far more relaxed, that they can be part of it. I see that when they come with a man or with a couple, or when they're a little more like, kind of little more conscious about how they are reacting. Conan's nodding his head. so, but when it also depends what kind of jokes. Like I do joke about how women dress for a date versus how men dress for a date, and I very often, when it's a couple, I see the woman looking at the man and being like, yeah, see, you see what she's saying, like, there's this like agreement with me. So it depends also what resonates with the female audience at that point, so
Do you see Indian stage performance, Indian comedians reaching that level where, predominantly, I don't know if this is true or not, but say Amy Schumer or someone who's a well-known female comedian, she can fill out a stadium with just women audiences. Do you see that happening in India, that women will attend stand-up comedy shows because they recognize and empathize with the performer on stage so much that majority of the audience will be female?
I hope so. I think that will be a really nice situation. I think that's why the space to allow women to take space is very important for that.
So when you say that somebody heckles me and I feel, I take the blame and I accept that, maybe I'm at fault. I think you mentioned something like that.
I try and turn it around as
But why?
silly me. Yeah.
But if somebody were to make, I mean, if that's, I have a sense that, and I know I'm obviously not a psychologist, I have a sense that that's a typically woman reaction to say, oh, I'm the person who's to blame. I'm the reason why this is not working. And I feel if somebody were to be mean to me, if somebody were to heckle me and say, oh, you suck as a comedian, I'd be like, maybe you're too dumb to understand the joke. I wouldn't take it on myself. So is there like a difference in how you approach this?
It's interesting because about this particular thing, I had a detailed conversation with my friend about how to handle it. And I said, actually, in one sense, Sai, what you're saying about, I don't have to apologize for it. Actually, that's what I'm trying to do by turning it on myself, to also be like, I have a right to say this, and if you don't get it, oh, maybe it's just me. But it's me playing silly. I'm playing being silly. I'm playing being apologetic.
And I can tell you that as an audience member, if you say I'm being silly, I'll just take it as face value. I'm not going to say, oh, she's saying I'm being silly, but she really means that you're being stupid for not understanding it. I think you're expecting too much from the audience there, I feel.
No, I think, well, yes and no. In that context, it worked because suddenly I could see the guy being like, like he was just, I think in terms of response, it was a more interesting response from my end than just being like, hey, if you can't get it, then just,
Right. I mean,
it was an interesting challenge for me to see how I'm going to handle this. Yeah.
So, Conan, over to you. I even forgot what I asked Spatica, but whatever I asked Spatica, I'm asking you also. Please go ahead and answer. I forgot what I asked.
Basically about the heckling, that how you handle it. And I think the only thing you can handle a heckler is to be funny at that moment. If you're funny, even if you take it as a self-deprecating, even if you overpower his statement, if it's funny, audience is on your side, regardless. If you're not funny, you will get detached with the audience which already was on your side. Because to be honest, we feel that, the audience is dumb. This I have heard with a lot of comics, that audience didn't understand. This is not my audience. They don't know the language. I'm like, bro, they know. They have come here paying 100, 200, whatever amount. They have come here to see comedy. They expect you to be funny. That's the base ground. On that, if you're giving a satire, if you're giving a message to them, that's an add-on for them. Even if they heckle back, if you are funny enough to take it forward, that's the basic line. Audience is already on your win. I have seen that people, for me, and it comes from experience. It never comes like the first day. Probably for some people, it might say first day someone heckles them, they get back to the audience. But when you're on the stage all the time, you know how to handle each type of heckler. Like, for example, for female comics, male hecklers come on like that, powering ki, oh, I know better than you. And I've seen female comics handle it in such a way that it again gets a huge laugh. The audience come back from their side. So if you're funny, it doesn't really matter that you're self-deprecating and making it about you, or telling that, oh, you are dumb. But if you're funny on that side, I personally, I believe that you cannot blame the audience.
Right.
You cannot blame the audience because they are not here to do jokes.
Hmm.
They are responding because there might be a thing that they didn't like. You have to make that dislike also as a funny thing for them, so that they, when they go out somewhere and they say this story to some of their friends, it's still funny, and you come as a funny person there.
All right. So I'm going to ask one last question, then open it up to everybody who's in the Zoom room with us. What is the coolest thing that has happened to you? Has some kid come and said, you know what, I saw your Instagram reel, it was super funny. Has some unknown person have stopped you on the roads and asked for a selfie or something? What's the coolest thing that has happened to you because of you're a comedian?
Oh, Spatika, you can start.
For me, I've had I had an audience. I had a older gentleman. It was really kind of endearing. An older man after a very chaotic open mic at a very noisy pub, where I thought nothing had landed. I wasn't even sure if anyone could hear me. And I was walking out, and he said, "You were very funny. You're one funny woman." And I was like, "Oh, not bad. This landed." He heard something. So yeah, that was nice. Yeah.
Cool. Conan, what about you?
I would. It's every day something or other happens every day. Like I would just talk about yesterday that I was in the middle of the set and a lady stopped me and said, "You have a really good voice." That and it's like every day someone comes to me after the show. Someone comes, "You really have great stage presence. You know what to speak. It feels like it's very flawless performance." That comes when I'm performing good. When I'm bombing, no.
Understood.
If I'm bombing and someone comes and says this, I have to second guess everything in my life now. But yeah, that happens every day, and I think that's very endearing that everything comes. But one thing which happened, especially that I remember, is again there is this couple who were 60 and above, and they came to a show, and they're like they came with their son and their daughter-in-law, and they were like they enjoyed the most. They're like, the show was named Inappropriate Comedy, and it was all dark jokes, and me being a person who talks about the worst things possible, like that will the worst things, or not as a taboo, but the things that you will not talk with your family, and they were laughing the most. And the guy came and told me, "I've never seen these two laugh this much on jokes like this." I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So that was really sweet. And I think people come and it's really fun. I haven't tapped the kids audience yet. Hopefully one day I want to perform just for kids and make sure they enjoy the whole bit.
All right. So really quickly, there's only 4 to 5 minutes left in this conversation. Conan, I didn't ask you, are you on Instagram? If you're on Instagram, what's your Instagram handle?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. My handle is Conan Pasha. You can follow me there.
Right. And you also perform across Bangalore mostly. Do you also perform across in other cities?
I do perform in Pune and Pune sometimes, and now I'm still working. My work requires a lot of travel, but majorly, if you're at any place of Bangalore, you can come and see me. Just BLR Comedy Theatre, Vira, obviously, my own venue, Ministry of Comedy, Tag, or Underground.
Right. All right. So it's been a really fascinating conversation for me because I'm in the same business as these guys. So I didn't take that pause in the middle to have the audience engaged. But guys, if you have any questions for our panelists, any thoughts about comedy and where you see comedy in your life, feel free to jump in and ask those questions, share those thoughts so that we get better insight on what the audience wants.
Spatica and Conan, very well done. I do laughter therapy, so I can relate. On sometimes most of the time I do. Most of the time I do. Yeah, so I can relate. So basically, laughter is the best medicine, and not many people understand what you and I do, except parents and all. But fantastic. I hope that one day I could be in a stage play and stuff, and introduce laughter as uh, some laughter as a business, mm, not a laughter is not a joke, but laughter is a serious business which can benefit people. Yeah.
Right.
So very well done, and Spatica, I hope to see you soon in part 2 of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much, Rajvan. Always nice to have your support.
Yeah.
Shabana,
Yeah, one more question. So if someone wants to become a stand-up comedian, what are your advices? What they should do? Just
I
for our audience, I'm asking this question.
I'll get something by the time. So you can start. I'll get something which will answer this question. That's why.
Okay. I'm sure Conan has a more interesting response that he's going to get, but I would say open mics. There are many, many open mics that happen in Bangalore or whichever city you are in. Just check the open mic scene. Prepare usually you're given 5 minutes. There are clubs which offer spots for first time people who want to try new material. Yeah, that's the best way to start.
I'm going to point to this book, Shabana. You see that book over there? It says Humor Science. I
Yes.
wrote actually. I actually wrote a book on how to be funny. It unpacks comedy from the ground up and also the triggers which make people laugh. You can buy the book or you can talk to me through
Awesome.
this. Wait, where's this mastermind? No, the other way. Ah, this way, this way. This mastermind thing. You can join that. I'll help you be funny. Conan, go ahead.
I think what Pratika said, it's always you have to be on stage. And just if someone wants to start comedy, find out what are the open mics around you. If you're in,
And what if the person is not at all humorous?
so I think everyone is humorous, everyone is funny.
I know Sai has
You can get Sai's book as well, definitely. But you have to, I think it's not about, everyone has a sense of humor. There is no one in this world who doesn't have a sense of humor. You just need to understand where you're funny, and you will only learn it when you're on stage. You cannot be like, I tell this to everyone. I don't want to demean any other art form, but stand up is the art form. You need audience for it. Like if, as a musician,
Yeah.
you can practice inside a house and you can directly go and perform live. Stand up is a art form. Regardless you're the funniest person or you're the least funny person, you will not decide it. The audience will decide it.
That's interesting perspective. I never thought of it like that. Yeah.
Right.
All right, it's 9 o'clock, and I think this is the time I'd ask from these two comedians from their Sunday. And I think it's probably a good time to end this discussion so that you guys can go back and get some more sleep. Conan, I'm not talking about you. You woke up at 4:30. You don't count.
No, I have to go and shoot another podcast right now.
Oh man, busy
I
man.
have
Busy
my
man.
own podcast. We talk about movies. I'm a big fan of movies, so I have
Oh,
to shoot another podcast, and then I have to start doing the weekend shows starting from 12 o'clock till 11 tonight. So
all right. So
Long day.
you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'm really thankful to both of you for being part of this panel discussion. Spatika, Conan, I know it was a little bit last minute, a little rushed, but thank you for being so open with your insights. And if I asked any question which you thought was, oh, why is he asking me that question? I'm only trying to reflect the questions the audience has. So think of it like that. So thank you very much for being part of this. Shabana, over to you to close this out.
Thank you so much, Sai. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Spatika and Conan, for joining today. And thank you, everyone. And see you again tomorrow.
Thanks,
Right, and this-
Sai. Thank you so much for having us.
thank you
This
for
was
having
really
us.
nice. Yeah.
I'll share the YouTube link